Armando Venegas stands in a hallway at the Utah School for the Blind in Ogden.
The Utah State Instructional Materials Access Center, or USIMAC, provides textbooks in accessible formats such as Braille and large print for students who are blind and low vision throughout the state of Utah. That includes districts, it includes charter schools, and other students throughout the state. The Utah State Legislature funds USIMAC. Taxpayer dollars make these Braille books possible. So the process for producing textbooks in accessible format begins early in the year at each school where there's a student who is blind or low vision. There, the general ed teacher, the special ed teacher, and also the teacher of the visually impaired will meet and discuss the textbooks that would be needed for the following fall. Many schools start as early as January, and they will meet and then discuss with us certain questions they might have about the textbooks or the material to be produced. At that point, the teacher of the visually impaired will include a new order on our USIMAC production portal, our software. There, they will also include all the details about that book, whether it's going to be a large print production or it's going to be Braille, in which format it would be, also deadlines, and also a pacing guide, especially if it's for Braille, so that will show us when the teacher needs each section of that book completed. A complete textbook order includes the following items. First is the order in USIMAC production portal. But secondly, we need a hard copy of the textbook to be produced. That is quite important. We need that for production of large print and Braille. Thirdly, we need a pacing guide, and that pacing guide is especially important for Braille. And that's the teachers telling us when that student will need each chapter, each portion of that textbook throughout the year.
A group of employees work together reviewing and processing the orders.
Once your order is received, then our coordinators and the director will meet to look at each order and make sure that they are complete. At that point, we will see what's the best way to produce or to procure this textbook for the student in the timeline that we have. There are a couple of ways we can do that. One is to purchase that textbook from a provider that already has completed that textbook in that particular format. Or we can produce them through funds that we receive from the federal government through the American Printing House for the Blind. The third way we also procure these textbooks is looking at our inventory. We have a large inventory of textbooks, and if it's there existing, we would then just ship that off to the student. If there is no other way to procure this textbook, we will then produce it in-house or contract with a certified transcriber or a certified company that will then produce the book for us.
Team members scan and crop and edit books that are needed.
The first step in our production process starts with our instructional material technicians. The technicians scan every textbook and they import that scan into a software program where they can edit, crop, and make sure that the text is crisp and clear and all the images are nice as well. The scanning process can take up to 2, 4, 6 weeks depending on the complexity of the scan and also the editing that's required.
Employees parse, transcribe, and edit the books.
After we scan the textbook, the Braille transcribers start with parsing the textbook, analyzing the textbook to make sure that they can break it up into volumes. After parsing the textbook, the transcriber will then convert the file into Braille using a translation software. This process can take quite a while. The reason being, there are many details that have to be looked at page by page, including capital letters, punctuation, highlighting, all the details that are included in the textbook.
Graphic artists work to create tactile graphics so students can feel the items with their fingertips.
Tactile graphic artists have a very important job. They take the image and then translate it into Braille. They make sure that the image can be understood by the student tactily with their hands. If an image cannot be created tactily, then it is described in Braille. The tactile graphic artist will work together with the transcriber to make sure that the description matches the image.
Machines emboss the text. We see that raised dots on the paper are created for the Braille.
When Braille is printed, it is embossed. And this is the process of putting dots that are raised on paper so that the student can touch and understand the text and the graphics that are included in that textbook.
The embossed paper is prepared and binded with a spiral to create a book.
The proofreading team is comprised of two people. We have the sighted person who reads the textbook, and we have the Braille reader who will be reading in Braille. Together they compare the transcription to make sure that the textbook is accurate in Braille, and if there are any errors, that those are identified so that the transcriber can fix them. Depending on the complexity of the textbook, that volume could be proofread 2 or 3 times just to make sure that it is accurate. Once the proofreading process has been completed, we go on to emboss the final volume. This is the volume that we will publish and send to the student. This volume includes a cover, it includes a cover label in Braille. It also includes the title pages for the teacher that are printed and included with the Braille. At this point, the textbook is ready to be shipped. The shipping process can take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. We ship most of our textbooks free matter of the blind. However, if we are on a stringent timeline, then we will send it FedEx next day service. In conclusion, creating Braille and large print textbooks for students can be a complex process. The most important thing that you can do is ensure that a complete order is received by April 1st. That we have an accurate textbook, we have hard copies, pacing guides, everything needed for a complete order.